Hello everyone and welcome to today's employability ESOL session provided by Accelerate and the Watch Centre. So we'll get started. Today we are going to look at conjunctions, and our learning objectives will be to understand what a conjunction is, to identify the conjunctions in a sentence, and to identify the time conjunctions in a sentence. Okay, so if you already know what a conjunction is, use this as like a quick revision session. If you don't worry, we will quickly go over what a conjunction is, what a time conjunction is, and how to identify them. Okay, so what is a conjunction? A conjunction connects the words in a sentence together. They ensure that the sentence makes sense. So if we were to take this sentence as an example, a conjunction connects the words in the sentence together. The a, the in and an a would all be conjunctions because they are connecting together all the other words to make sure that it makes sense when put together. Because if you didn't have this a, the in and the a in this sentence, you would just have conjunction connects, words, sentence together. Now that's not a complete sentence, it wouldn't make sense. So our conjunctions are our connective words which help the sentence to make sense. Here are some examples of some really common frequent conjunctions you might come across. I'm sure you will all recognise and as and but and so. You might even recognise until, if, before and because. These are all examples of very common conjunctions and something to keep an eye out for in sentences. Okay, so how does this work in person? So we have, if we look for our noun in this sentence here, in she was working, the she is our noun because that's the person, the place or the thing, so it's the person, and that is our noun. Whereas working, with its ing ending, that is our verb in this short sentence. Okay, and then that leaves us with was. Now was is our connecting word that is connecting together the noun and the verb. So she is our noun, our verb is working, and the conjunction in this sentence that is connecting together these two words is the word or the conjunction or the connective word was. Okay? So you can think of was as a bit like a plus symbol or multiply. So she was working. So without this was, you would only have she working, which wouldn't make as much sense. Okay, so how to identify a conjunction in a sentence. So we're going to look at a few example questions. Maybe work along, if you've got some pen and paper, work along and try and work out what the conjunctions are before I get there. So like always, we're going to look for our nouns first in this sentence. So our sentence is, Jane sent an email on a library computer. Now remember, a noun is a person, a place or a thing. So we look at this sentence, Jane, she is our main noun, isn't she? Because she's a person. Sent an email is a thing, so it's also a noun. And a library and computer, library is a place and computer is a thing, so they are our other nouns in this sentence. Next, we're going to look for our verb in the sentence. So our verb is our action word, it is what the person is doing. So we know our main person, our main noun in this sentence is Jane, and what is Jane doing? Or what did Jane do? Jane sent an email on the library computer, so sent. So her sending an email or having sent an email in the past is our verb, as it is our action word, it's our doing word, sent would be our verb. Now conjunctions connect the sentence together, so there are connective words. So without our connectives, if we look at the sentence now without our connectives, we just have Jane sent email library computer. Now that doesn't really make sense, does it? We know we need a few extra words just to help it make sense. So Jane sent an email on a library computer. And then you see with our conjunctions, our connective words, how much more this sentence makes sense. So now we have Jane sent an email on a library computer. So you see how this sentence makes sense now with our conjunctions. Okay, so that's the role that the conjunctions do in a sentence. And it's a really easy way to try and identify what our connective words are in this sentence. Okay, so here we have another example. we have she spoke to a nurse. So we're looking for our noun, which is the person, place or thing. We have she, which is a pronoun, which we'll look at pronouns properly in another lesson in the coming weeks, but at now we'll look at she and pronouns just as normal nouns. And spoke to the nurse, so nurse is our other noun in this sentence. Now, what is she doing in the sentence? What is the verb? She spoke. So speaking, talking, the fact that she spoke, in which is past tense, that is our verb. Okay, so she spoke nurse doesn't make sense, does it? So we need to find or add our conjunctions in. And she spoke to the nurse. And then it suddenly becomes a complete sentence and makes sense. Because without the to and the, it would just say she spoke nurse, which would not be a full sentence or correct English. Okay, so now we look at this next example sentence. We have she successfully completed the qualification. Now, as always, we're going to look for our nouns first. So our nouns are our person, place or thing. And so first we have she. She. So we have she is a person, successfully completed the qualification, and a qualification is a thing. So qualification would be out of a noun in this sentence. Now we're going to look for our verbs. Now, she successfully completed the qualification. Completed can mean finished. So finished, completing, finishing, to finish, to complete. Those are all different verbs, but this verb is in the past tense, which we can tell by the ed on the end of the word. So that's our verb. Now we're going to look for our adverb. Now, if you remember from last week, adverbs describe the verb. So the same way that an adjective describes the noun, an adverb describes the verb. So we find our verb in a sentence, which is completed. And then we're going to look at what word describes completed. And that would be successfully. She successfully, and the ly in the end tells us it's an adverb. So we know that successfully is telling us more about the verb, which is the adverb successfully tells us more about the verb completed. And that leaves us with the conjunctions to find. So she successfully completed the qualification. So the is our only connective conjunction in this sentence, because without it, it would just say she successfully completed qualification. And you just need the in there just so that it makes sense and makes it the correct English. Okay, here's our next example sentence where we have the florist is speaking to a customer. Okay, so our nouns, as always, person, place or things. We have the florist. So our florist here is speaking to a customer. And customer is our other noun. And then we look for our verb. Now our verb is the action word. What is the florist doing? She is speaking, she is talking, she's having a conversation with the customer. So there we found the nouns and the verbs, and now we just need to find the conjunctions to connect these words together. Now if you remember that without the conjunctions it won't make sense, it would just say florist speaking customer. Now that doesn't make any sense, it doesn't tell us what's happening, who exactly is doing what. So we need our connected words. So here we have the florist is speaking to a customer. And with those conjunctions, those connective words in place, it makes a lot more sense now, doesn't it? The florist is speaking to a customer. Okay then, next we've got a slightly longer sentence. So I'll quickly explain just what a couple of the things mean in the sentence in case you're not too sure. So we have, it is important to have good organisational skills when working in an office and completing administrative tasks. So this is a fairly long sentence, but I'll break it down. So it is important to have good organisational. Now organisational skills mean being prepared and planning a lot. So if you're organised, you'll always be on time or early for appointments or classes. You'll have really good time management skills, and you'll also be very organised and prepared. So say if you were to go to an ESOL class, you'll always have pen, paper, your notes with you. You'll always look at what you did last week before you go, so you know what to expect. So it's all just about being organised and being prepared and being ready for what you are attending or what you may do, and knowing where everything is. And then the other word you might not be sure of in this sentence is administrative. Now, administrative tasks can be short for admin. These sorts of things often take place in an office, so it would be like filing and sorting paperwork, stuff like that. Okay. But right now we're going to focus on trying to find all these in the sentence. So what are our nouns in this sentence? So our sentence is, it is important. So important would be an abstract noun. To have good organisational skills. Now, organisational skills is a thing, so we can count that as a noun in this context. When working in an office, now office is a place, so it's our other noun, and completing administrative tasks, which are our other nouns, because these are the people, the persons, the places, and the things. Okay, so now we're going to look for our verbs. Now, our verbs are action words, our doing words. So what is the person or the thing doing in the sentence? If we have a look, we can easily identify our first verb by this ing on the end, working. So, and our second verb in this sentence is completing, and it's also got the ing for the present tense. So like we said before, completing could mean finishing administrative tasks set for you. Okay. Next, we're going to look, are there any adjectives? Sometimes things can be debatable. You might think that organisational could be an adjective, but in this context, I think we're just going to say there aren't any adjectives in this task, unless you'd like to say administrative is an adjective, which it could be. So we'll underline that like that. Now our main focus is the conjunctions, the connected words in this sentence. So without the conjunctions, it doesn't make sense. We just have import. Oh, I just realised we've missed the adjective. There is an adjective. We've got good. So good is describing this noun. Adjectives describe the noun. So good is describing our organisational skills. Okay. If you want to know more about adjectives, do go back and watch the adjective video where we explain those more in a little bit more depth. But now we're going to quickly jump back to the conjunctions. So without the conjunctions in the sentence, we just have important, have good organisational skills when working in an office and completing administrative tasks. So our conjunctions are our connective words. We know that it is important to have good organisational skills when working in an office and completing administrative tasks. Now, when could also be an adverb. It really depends on context, but right now we'll look at it as a conjunction and we'll explain how that could be a conjunction in a little bit. But right now, if you focus on it and is and to and an and, these are all really common conjunctions that you'll see in nearly every sentence. So they're really good ones to be able to recognise and know how to use properly. So now when we come back to this idea of this when as a conjunction or a connective word, we look at time conjunctions. Now time conjunctions connect the words together and tell you when the action takes place. So if you were to look at it and is, these are conjunctions and connective words, but they're not telling us when. They're not telling us maybe what time or when something took place. So they're not time conjunctions, but you can get time conjunctions that do tell you when the action takes place. So here are some few common examples of time conjunctions. You've got before, now, while and after, and meanwhile, since, sometimes and soon. Now before would mean the past tense. So I have before attended an ESOL class. If you came last Tuesday or last Thursday. I am now attending an ESOL class will be present tense because it's about what you're doing right now. And I will soon attend an ESOL class. If you were going to join us on Thursday at 11 AM, that will be, these all can be time conjunctions as they are telling us when something is taking place, and they're used as connectives and conjunctions within a sentence to ensure a sentence makes sense. So here's an example sentence, and we're going to do the usual of look for the nouns, the verbs, the adjectives, and now the conjunctives in the sentence, but at the end we're also going to look and see if we can spot the time conjunctions. Okay, so like always, we're going to look for our nouns first. Now our nouns are our persons, places, or things. So what is our sentence? Our sentence is, after a while, I decided I would apply for a catering course and develop my skills and knowledge. So we're looking for persons, places, and things as our nouns. And I is a noun. It's actually a pronoun, which we will look at in more detail in a later lesson session. But right now, we will just consider it as a normal noun. So we've got I would apply for, oh no, not for, that's not a noun, for a catering course and develop a catering course. That could be a whole noun if you would see it as all together, but course is definitely. And develop my skills, and my is a pronoun, but we'll count that as a noun for now, skills and knowledge. Okay, so here we found our nouns. Next we're going to look for our verbs. Now our verbs are our doing words, our action words. They're what the main person or thing in a sentence is doing. So after a while I decided, so decided with that ed past tense ending is one of our verbs. Would apply, that is another verb for our catering course. Now even though catering does have an ing in this context, we're not looking at it as a verb, we're looking at it as a descriptive word. So it could be, if it was on its own, catering, it could be a verb, but in this context we're going to look at it as a noun. And develop is our other, it's an infinitive verb. Okay, so now we're going to look, are there any adjectives? Now you could maybe count catering as an adjective as it's describing what type of course, or you could just count it all as one noun, catering course. Sometimes different things can apply to the same word, but in general, adjectives describe the noun. So now we're going to look at our conjunctions, our connective words. So what do we have in this sentence? Because without any conjunctions, we have I decided I would apply catering course, develop my skills, knowledge. Now that clearly doesn't make sense, so we're going to need some conjunctions and connective words. So here we go, we have after a while I decided I would apply for a catering course and develop my skills and knowledge. So here we go, we found our conjunctions. These are all our connective words, as they are all connecting the sentence together, and they now make sure that the sentence makes sense. But we also have, like we looked at earlier, our time conjunctions. Our time conjunctions, remember, tell us when something happens. So they are a conjunction, but they also tell us when. So after would be a time conjunction, as it's telling us about when the action has taken place. And a wouldn't be, as it's not telling us when something has taken place, but while would. While is another when time conjunction. For and a and are all common conjunctions. They don't tell us when, so they would not count as time conjunctions. So I hope that makes a little bit more sense about what time conjunctions are. So when we look at this lesson, what we've looked at what is a conjunction. A conjunction is a common connective word which ties together the nouns and the verbs and maybe the adjectives and adverbs into a sentence to make sure it makes sense. We now know how to identify a conjunction. Remember, we're looking for those little connective words. And finally, we looked at how to identify time conjunctions. And remember, time conjunctions tell us when the action takes place. So something like before, now, while, or after. These are all time conjunctions, as they're telling us when something takes place, but they can also be connective words like after and while. Okay, so there is a quick overview of what we've looked at today. Next week we will be looking at the past tense on Thursday at 11 AM. So do join us for that. Now you'll be able to tick off your conjunction sheet if you have done. You'll now be able to tick off your conjunctions on your lesson checklist, and you can complete the conjunction worksheets as part of your ESOL booklet that has been sent to you or emailed to you if you are taking part in this ESOL course. So thank you everyone for attending. I hope you understand conjunctions a little bit more easier now, and we will end the session now. Thank you guys.